The rain hammered against the windshield like it was trying to break through, turning the world outside into a blurry smear of taillights and regret. I slammed on the brakes just in time, skidding to a stop inches from the curb where Jake's house loomed like a beacon in the storm. My best friend's place, the one spot that had always felt like home until tonight. "Get out!" Jake snarled from the passenger seat, his voice cracking like thunder, eyes wild with a betrayal I never saw coming. And in that split second, as he shoved the door open and bolted into the downpour, I realized the secret I'd buried deeper than my own heartbeat was about to drown us both. It started innocently enough, back in the fall of my junior year at Lincoln High in suburban Ohio, where the cornfields stretched out like endless golden promises and the air always smelled faintly of rain and rebellion. I was David Harper, 17, and perpetually lost in the maze of quadratic equations and the even trickier labyrinth of who I was. Jake Reynolds had been my anchor since kindergarten, tall, freckled, with that easy grin that could disarm a room full of pissed-off teachers. We were inseparable. Late-night video game marathons in his basement, sneaking beers from his dad's fridge during football tailgates, whispering dreams about escaping this nowhere town for the lights of Chicago or New York. But beneath it all, I carried a weight Jake didn't know about, a quiet ache that bloomed every time he slung an arm around my shoulders or talked about the girls he swore he'd date someday. That Thursday evening, the sky was the color of bruised plums, heavy with the threat of the storm that would later chase me down these same streets. I'd bombed the last algebra quiz again, and Coach Harlan had pulled me aside after practice, his meaty hand on my shoulder like a vice. "Harper, you gonna let numbers beat you? Fix it or you're off the team." Track was my escape, the one place where my legs could outrun the noise in my head, the questions I shoved down like bad cafeteria food. So I texted Jake, "Homework hell. Can I crash at yours? Need to not fail." His reply was instant, "Dude, doors open. Dad's making spaghetti. Save me." The Reynolds house was a slice of Midwest normalcy. 2 stories of faded blue siding, a basketball hoop sagging in the driveway, and a front porch swing that creaked like it held all the family's secrets. Mrs. Reynolds, Sarah, had split when Jake was 10, leaving behind a ghost of lavender-scented hugs and half-finished scrapbooks. Mr. Reynolds, Tom, picked up the pieces with quiet efficiency. A high school counselor by day, grill master by night, the kind of dad who remembered birthdays with goofy cards and fixed your bike without making you feel small. He was in his early 40s, broad-shouldered from years of coaching Little League, with salt and pepper hair that made him look like he'd stepped out of one of those old Norman Rockwell paintings. Dependable, warm, the opposite of the chaos in my own house where Mom worked doubles at the diner and Dad was just a voicemail that went unanswered. I let myself in through the side door, the screen slapping shut behind me like a punctuation mark on my exhaustion. The kitchen smelled like garlic and basil, a far cry from the microwave burritos I called dinner. Jake was sprawled at the table, headphones on, demolishing a bowl of Fruit Loops that had gone soggy hours ago. "Sup, loser?" he mumbled without looking up, kicking out a chair for me. I dropped my backpack with a thud that echoed my mood and pulled out my battered textbook, the pages dog-eared and defeated. Tom appeared from the pantry, wiping flour-dusted hands on a dish towel slung over his shoulder. "David." Perfect timing. "Sauce is simmering, want to taste test." His voice was that easy baritone, the kind that wrapped around you like a flannel shirt on a chilly morning. Up close, he had these laugh lines etched deep around his eyes, green as the fields after a rain, and a 5 o'clock shadow that made him seem both rugged and approachable. I nodded, forcing a smile as he handed me a wooden spoon. The sauce was rich, tangy, alive. Nothing like the canned stuff at home. "Whoa, Mr. R, this is legit. Call me Tom," he said, winking as he stirred the pot. "And thanks. Been tweaking the recipe since Jake was in diapers. Speaking of math homework, you look like you're wrestling a bear." Jake snorted, pulling off his headphones. "David is allergic to numbers. Coach is gonna bench him if he doesn't pull it together." I flipped him off half-heartedly, but Tom just chuckled, leaning over my shoulder to peer at the open page. His arm brushed mine. Accidental, fleeting, and something in my chest stuttered, like a skipped heartbeat in a quiet room. "Quadratics, huh? Piece of cake. Scoot over. Let's crack this." What followed was the first real breakthrough I'd had in weeks. Tom didn't lecture. He drew diagrams on a napkin, turning X's and Y's into stories about trajectories and dreams, his pen moving with the steady grace of someone who'd once thrown a perfect spiral in high school. Jake wandered off to raid the fridge for seconds, leaving us in a bubble of focused quiet. See? It's not about the numbers, Tom said, tapping the napkin. It's about seeing the path. Where do you want to go, David? College? Pro track? The world's bigger than this town. I swallowed, staring at the elegant curve he'd sketched. I don't know. Lately it feels like I'm just running in place. He met my eyes, then really met them, and for a moment the kitchen faded, the steam, the clock's tick, even the distant hum of the fridge. Hey, he said softly. That's okay. You're young. Plenty of time to figure it out. But don't sell yourself short. You've got heart, kid. I see it. Kid. The word landed like a gentle shove, but his gaze lingered a beat too long, warm and searching, stirring something I couldn't name. I mumbled a thanks, heat creeping up my neck, and buried myself in the problems. By the time we finished, the spaghetti was ready, and Jake bounded back in, oblivious, slapping plates down like we were at a diner. We ate around the scarred oak table, trading stories about school pranks and Tom's glory days as a quarterback, laughter bubbling up easy as the sauce. For the first time in forever I felt seen, not as the screw-up son or the sidekick friend, but as me. That night, as I biked home under a sky pricked with stars, the solved equations burned in my bag like a talisman. But it wasn't the math that replayed in my mind. It was Tom's hand on my shoulder as he walked me to the door. Come back anytime, David. Doors always open. And the way his voice dipped low like a promise wrapped in flannel. The next week blurred into a rhythm. Track practice until my lungs burned, stolen moments in the school library pretending to study, and Tuesdays at the Reynolds. Tom started leaving the side door unlocked. A napkin note taped to the frame. Sauce on stove. Math on table. Jake thought it was hilarious, ribbing me about becoming the family tutor project, but he was knee-deep in his own drama, crushing on Sarah from bio class, dodging his mom's occasional check-in calls from Florida. I didn't mind the jabs. They masked the thrill building in my gut, the way my pulse quickened whenever Tom's truck pulled into the drive. One evening, as October leaves turned the streets to fire, I arrived early. The house was quiet, Jake still at soccer. Tom was in the living room, feet up on the coffee table, a dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby in his lap. Hey, stranger, he called, not looking up. Homework, wait? Grab a seat. Daisy's breaking my heart again. I hesitated in the doorway, backpack heavy on my shoulder. The room smelled of old books and pipe tobacco. A faded Afghan draped over the couch like a memory. Didn't know you were into Fitzgerald. He marked his page with a bent corner, grinning. Guilty. Read it in college, thought it was about glamour. Now, it's about the ache of what you can't have. His eyes flicked to mine, holding just long enough to make the air thicken. What about you? Got a favorite? I shrugged, dropping onto the armchair across from him, the leather creaking under me. Not really. School lit's all Shakespeare and symbolism. Feels distant. Fair. But that's the point. Stories pull you in, make the distant real. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, the lamplight carving shadows across his jaw. Tell me something real then. What's eating at you lately? Besides algebra. The question hung there, simple as a thrown ball, but it caught me off guard. I fiddled with my backpack strap, words tumbling out before I could stop them. It's stupid. Just feeling like I don't fit. Here, at home, anywhere. Like everyone's got their path, and mine's just a dead end. Tom nodded slowly, no pity in his face, just understanding, the kind that comes from scars you don't show. Not stupid. I felt that after Sarah left. Jake was a wreck and I was supposed to be the rock. But rocks crack too, you know? Took me years to admit I was scared shitless. We talked then, really talked, the clock slipping past 7 without notice. About my dad bailing when I was 12, the silence that filled our house like fog. About Tom's quiet nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd failed as a husband, a father. He didn't sugarcoat it, the loneliness, the what-ifs, but he laced it with hope, stories of friends who'd rebuilt, of Jake's first steps turning heartbreak into something fierce and good. By the time Jake burst through the door, cleats muddy and cheeks flushed, we were laughing over Tom's botched attempt at baking cookies post-divorce. Smells like victory in here, Jake announced, raiding the fridge. But as I packed up, Tom caught my eye from the kitchen, mouthing thanks with a small smile that felt private, earned. That smile haunted me on the drive home. Mom's old Corolla rattling like my thoughts. It wasn't just gratitude, it was connection, a thread pulling taut between us. I pushed it down, told myself it was nothing, just a lonely kid latching onto kindness. But in the dark of my room, posters of Olympic runners staring down like judges, I wondered. What if the path wasn't a dead end? What if it led somewhere dangerous, somewhere real? The hook sank deeper the following Tuesday. Rain pattered against the windows as I hunched over the kitchen table. Tom's napkin sketches turning derivatives into something almost poetic. Jake was upstairs, yelling into his headset at some online shooter, leaving us in that now familiar bubble. "You're getting it," Tom said, his voice close as he pointed to my scribbled solution. Our hands brushed again, longer this time, neither pulling away fast enough. Electricity hummed under my skin, sharp and sweet. "Sorry," I muttered, but he just shook his head, his thumb lingering a fraction too long. "Don't be. You're doing great, David." The way he said my name, soft at the edges, made my throat tight. I looked up and there it was, that gaze again, unguarded, pulling me in like gravity. The room narrowed to the space between us. The faint stubble on his chin, the flecks of gold in his eyes, the rise and fall of his chest under a faded Ohio State tee. In that moment, suspended like a breath held too long, I felt it crack open. The truth I'd buried under layers of denial and dusty textbooks. It wasn't admiration. It was want. For him. For the steadiness he offered, the way he saw me whole when the world saw fragments. My heart pounded, a drumbeat of panic and possibility, and I jerked back, mumbling about needing water. He let it go, easy as always, but as I filled a glass at the sink, hands trembling, I caught his reflection in the window, watching me, thoughtful, like he felt the shift too. The rain picked up, drumming a warning, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. What the hell was I doing? He was Jake's dad. My best friend's dad. The line was there, thick as the storm clouds rolling in, but God, it was blurring. From then on, Tuesdays became my secret pilgrimage, a ritual wrapped in excuses. I'd arrive with excuses about missed assignments, lingering over pasta and problems until the sky bruised purple. Tom never pushed, but he met me halfway, leaving books on the counter, To Kill a Mockingbird, with notes in the margins, for the kid who sees the paths, brewing coffee strong enough to chase away the chill. Jake noticed my study sessions stretching longer but chalked it up to my slacker redemption arc, clapping me on the back with "attaboy, finally growing up." But the air between Tom and me thickened, charged like the moments before lightning. A shared glance over Jake's head during family dinners, Mrs. Reynolds visiting for Thanksgiving, all forced smiles and turkey dry as regret. His hand steadying mine when I fumbled a fork, fingers warm and calloused. Late one night, after Jake crashed early from a party, Tom walked me out to my bike under a canopy of stars. "You're quiet tonight," he said, leaning against the garage, arms crossed like a barrier he wasn't sure he wanted. "Just thinking." The words slipped out heavy. "About paths. About choosing wrong." He uncrossed his arms, stepping closer, the scent of his aftershave, clean and woodsy, wrapping around me. "No such thing as wrong, David. Just detours. And sometimes they're the scenic route." His voice dropped, intimate in the dark, and when his hand landed on my arm, meant to reassure, I think, it burned through my jacket like a brand. I froze, pulse roaring in my ears. Say something. Pull away. But I didn't. Instead, I turned, our faces inches apart, breaths mingling in the crisp air. His eyes searched mine, confusion flickering to something deeper, raw. The world held its breath, and then, God help me, I leaned in, lips brushing his in a tentative, trembling kiss that tasted of coffee and courage. He stiffened, then softened, his hand cupping my jaw for a heartbeat that stretched eternal before he pulled back, eyes wide with the same storm raging in me. "David, we can't." The words were a gut punch, but his voice cracked, laced with regret that mirrored my own. I nodded, numb, mumbling goodnight as I pedaled into the night, tears stinging hotter than the wind. The line wasn't blurred anymore. We'd crossed it, and there was no going back. Winter clamped down on Elmwood like a fist, blanketing the town in snow that muffled everything but the roar in my head. I avoided the Reynolds house for a week, dodging Jake's texts with lame excuses about family stuff, burying myself in track laps until my muscles screamed. But guilt was a relentless coach, and Tom haunted me. That kiss, brief, electric, replayed in stolen moments. In the shower steam during history lectures, even as I forced smiles at the holiday lights strung across Main Street. Jake cornered me at school finally, slamming my locker shut with a clang that echoed down the hall. Dude, what the hell? You've been ghosting me. Everything cool? Yeah, man. Just, mom's shifts are killer. Lie. The truth was a grenade pin half pulled. He eyed me skeptical but let it slide with a punch to the shoulder. Well, Dad's asking about you. Says the math whiz needs his fix. Come over Friday? Movie night, my treat. Star Wars marathon. My stomach twisted. Seeing Tom again? After that? But bailing would raise flags, so I nodded, faking nonchalance. You're on. Friday arrived brittle and bright, snow crunching under my boots as I trudged up the drive. Tom answered the door, flannel shirt rolled to elbows, a tentative smile that didn't reach his eyes. David. Good to see you. You too. The words hung awkward, the space between us vast as the living room behind him. Fairy lights twinkling like false cheer. Jake barreled in from the kitchen, popcorn bowl overflowing. Finally. Popcorn's nuclear. Don't say I didn't warn ya. We settled on the couch, the three of us in a row like nothing had changed. Jake in the middle, oblivious buffer. But every shift of Tom's leg against the cushions sent sparks skittering up my spine. During the hyperspace jump, his knee brushed mine, accidental? And stayed a silent question. By the second film, Jake was snoring, head lolled back, empty bowl on his lap. The room dimmed to the glow of the TV lightsabers humming soft. Tom cleared his throat, voice low. We should talk. I nodded, heart hammering. He paused the movie, the sudden silence deafening. That night, I haven't stopped thinking about it. About you. Relief flooded me, sharp as pain. Me neither. It was wrong, he finished, but gently, like he was testing the word. Jake. My job as a dad. Everything I built after Sarah. He ran a hand through his hair, silver threads catching the light. But damn, David, you're under my skin. The admission cracked something open in me. Raw and real. I shifted closer, our whispers weaving through the dark. I know. It's messed up. But it doesn't feel wrong. Not to me. He searched my face, thumb tracing my knuckles. A touch so light it might have been imagination. You're 17. I'm. Me. This could ruin everything. Or fix it. Bold, stupid words, but they spilled out, fueled by months of hidden longing. We didn't kiss again, not then. But as the credits rolled, he squeezed my hand, a promise in the pressure. Slow, he murmured. We go slow. For Jake. For us. Slow became our pact, a fragile bridge over the chasm. Secret coffees after my morning runs, him accidentally at the track meets, cheering louder for me than anyone. Texts at midnight, read the book. Atticus gets it. Standing in someone's shoes. Jake suspected nothing, his world orbiting Sarah's texts and college apps. But the guilt gnawed, a shadow lengthening with every stolen glance. Christmas break hit like a freight train. Family obligations forced cheer. I helped Tom string lights on the Reynolds roof, our laughter echoing as we tangled in chords, Jake inside blasting holiday rock. Up there, wind whipping. He pulled me close under pretense of steadying. Missed this. He breathed against my ear, and I melted, the town sprawling below like a map of possibilities. But secrets have weight, and ours was piling high. New Year's Eve, Jake threw a bash. Kids from school crammed into the basement, bass thumping, red Solo cups sweating. I nursed a soda in the corner, watching Tom circulate upstairs, playing host with that effortless charm. Our eyes met across the chaos, a current pulling taut. Later, as the countdown blared, Jake dragged me into a group hug, slurring cheers. Confetti rained, and in the frenzy, Tom's hand found my lower back, brief, burning. But Jake pulled away first, eyes narrowing. You good, David? You've been weird all night. Just the crowd. I lied, pulse racing. He shrugged it off, but the seed was planted. Doubt in his grin, a crack in our foundation. January thawed the snow but not the tension. Track season ramped up, my time shaving seconds off records, fueled by Tom's quiet pride. Notes slipped into my locker. Proud of you. Tea we stole moments. A walk in the woods behind his house, hands brushing as we talked dreams. Me to journalism school, him to finally write that novel gathering dust. You make me want to try again, he confessed one gray afternoon, our breaths fogging the air. I kissed him then, proper and deep, against an oak scarred with initials, the world fading to the taste of him, salt and certainty. It was paradise wrapped in peril. Until the night it shattered. I remember the exact moment the world tilted on its axis. February 14th, Valentine's Day. The kind of saccharine hallmark trap that turns high school into a battlefield of carnations and crushed egos. I dodged the frenzy at school. Red envelopes stuffed in lockers, girls giggling over drugstore chocolates, but Jake, ever the romantic, had scored a date with Sarah. Big night, bro, he'd crowed at lunch, waving tickets to the drive-in revival of some rom-com. You should come, third wheel's the new black. Tempting, I'd shot back, forcing a laugh while my mind replayed Tom's text from that morning. Roses are red, violets are blue, dinner after practice? Just us. My cheeks burned at the memory, a secret bloom amid the chaos. Practice dragged, coach barking orders as snow flurries danced like confetti from a broken promise. I pushed harder, legs churning the track into mud, chasing the endorphin high that drowned the whisper of wrongness. Tom waited in the parking lot afterward, his truck idling like a getaway car, headlights cutting the dusk. Hop in, he said through the open window, that grin disarming as ever. I've got a spot by the river, picnic Midwest style. We drove in comfortable silence, the heater blasting away the chill, his hand resting on the gearshift inches from mine. The riverfront was deserted, a stretch of frozen Ohio water flanked by skeletal trees. Fairy lights from summer festivals still tangled in branches like forgotten wishes. He spread a blanket from the truck bed, unpacking thermoses of chili and crusty bread from the bakery downtown. Simple, thoughtful, the kind of date that felt like home. We ate cross-legged, steam rising as stars pricked the velvet sky. Happy Valentine's, he toasted with his mug, eyes soft in the lantern glow. Best one yet. And it was, no awkward dances or peer pressure, just us unraveling in the quiet. Conversation flowed easy. His college stories wild and wistful, my fears about coming out, the what-ifs that kept me up nights. Jake's my brother, I admitted, voice small. Telling him it could end everything. Tom nodded, setting his mug down, his fingers tracing mine on the blanket. I know. That's why we wait. Build this right. He pulled me close then. Kiss slow and deepening, the world narrowing to the press of his lips, the scrape of stubble, the way his hand cradled my neck like I was fragile, precious. We didn't go further, wouldn't, but in that tangle of limbs and longing I felt whole. Seen. Loved, maybe in the unspoken spaces. Back at his place, Jake's car was absent. Off on his date, the house dark and welcoming. Stay for coffee? Tom asked, voice husky, but I shook my head, reality crashing in. Can't. Jake might. Right. He walked me to the door anyway. Lingering in the porch light, our goodbye kiss a brush of promise. Text me when you're home safe. I did, pedaling through the frosted streets, heart full and foolish. But as I rounded the corner to my block, headlights flared. Jake's beat-up Civic, engine rumbling like accusation. He leaned against the hood, arms crossed, face shadowed but stormy. Thought I'd catch you before Mom's shift, he said, but his tone was off, edged with something sharp. Where you been? Track. Then. River. Cleared my head. Half-truth, heart-pounding. He pushed off the car, stepping closer, eyes scanning me like evidence. With who? Saw Tom's truck earlier. Figured he'd give you a lift home. Yeah. Homework stuff. Lie after lie stacking like dominoes. Jake's jaw tightened, a flicker of hurt crossing his face. Homework. On Valentine's? Come on, David. You've been weird for months, ditching hangs, staring off during games. And Dad. He's different too. Happier but secretive. Like he's got this whole other life. My mouth went dry, the cold seeping in. Dude, you're overthinking. It's nothing. Is it? He stepped closer, voice dropping to a hiss. I saw you two at Christmas, whispering like you had secrets. And tonight your lips are all. Whatever. Swear to me, David. Swear it's not what I think. The air thickened, heavy as the snow starting to fall. I wanted to confess, to bridge the gap with truth, but fear clamped my throat. I swear. Best friends don't lie, right? He searched my face, the boy I'd shared scraped knees and stolen smokes with, and for a heartbeat trust flickered back. Yeah, right. But as he clapped my shoulder, too hard, too final, and drove off, the crack widened. I stood there, snow melting on my jacket, the weight of betrayal settling like frost. The fallout crept in slow, insidious as the February thaw. Jake pulled back. Not dramatic, but there. Texts unanswered, invites sparse, our easy banter replaced by stilted small talk in the halls. Busy with Sarah, he'd say, but his eyes accused. Tom noticed too, our coffees turning tense, his worry lines deepening. He's sharp, David. Kids pick up on vibes. We tried to shield it. Stolen glances at Jake's games, where Tom coached from the sidelines, me in the bleachers cheering both. But the air hummed with unspoken dread. One Saturday mid-March, Jake cornered me after a brutal loss, the field mudslick and the team trudging off like defeated soldiers. Talk, he demanded, dragging me to the equipment shed, the door banging shut behind us. Bats and balls loomed like witnesses in the dim light. About what? I played dumb, but my voice shook. You and Dad. The words landed like a slap, raw and real. I saw the text last week. Your phone buzzed when you left it at my house. Miss you already. From him? What the fuck, David? Time fractured. My stomach dropped, the shed spinning. Jake, it's not. Bullshit. He paced, fists clenched, face twisting with a pain that gutted me. My best friend and my dad? Hooking up behind my back? How long? How could you? Tears stung mine, his as the dam broke. It's not hooking up. It's real. I love him, Jake. And he? The confession choked out, half relief, half ruin. He recoiled like I'd struck him, betrayal etching deep. Love? You're 17. He's my dad, the guy who taught me to ride a bike, who cried when Mom left. And you? You were supposed to be family. His voice cracked, fists slamming the wall, echoes ringing. Get out. Don't come near us. Ever. I stumbled into the rain, sudden sheeting, sobbing as I ran, the field blurring to a watercolor of loss. Home was a blur of slammed doors and Mom's worried, what's wrong, baby? But I locked it down, curling under covers that smelled of detergent and despair. My phone stayed silent, no Jake, no Tom. Just the void. Days bled into a week, school a gauntlet of averted eyes and whispers. Track suffered. Coach benched me after a shit time, muttering about focus. I ghosted everyone, wandering Elmwood's edges, the river where we'd picnicked, the woods with their scarred oak, ghosts of us mocking me. Tom's truck became a specter, parked in drives I avoided. Then the 9th day, a knock shattered the silence. Mom answered, her voice muffled through my door. David? It's Mr. Reynolds. My heart lurched. I cracked the door and there he was, rain-soaked eyes, hollow flannel clinging like defeat. Mom hovered, but he waved her off gently. Just need a word with your boy, ma'am. If that's all right. She nodded, retreating, and he stepped in, the foyer shrinking around us. David, he breathed, voice rough as gravel. God, I've been going crazy. Me too. Tears welled unbidden. Jake hates me. Tom pulled me into a hug, fierce, enveloping. The first touch in days that felt like salvation. He doesn't hate you. He's hurt. Furious. Through a lamp last night, screaming about trust. He pulled back, hands on my shoulders, eyes fierce. But we're telling him. Together. No more hiding. Terror clawed up. He'll never forgive. Maybe not today. But family's not blood, it's choice. And I choose you, kid. If you'll have me. The words anchored me, a lifeline in the storm. We sat on the porch swing that night, mine creaky and paint peeled, watching rain sheet the street, planning the confrontation like generals before battle. His hand in mine steady, we mapped the truth. The math sessions that turned to more. The kiss that sealed it. The love that bloomed despite the odds. It's messy, he admitted. But real things are. The next afternoon we drove to his house, Tom's knuckles white on the wheel. Jake was in the garage, wrenching on his bike, grease-streaked and sullen. He froze when we entered, eyes darting between us like daggers. Dad? What the David? Tom cleared his throat, stepping forward. Sit, son. We need to talk. Jake dropped the wrench, arms crossing tight. If this is some intervention bullshit. It's not. Tom's voice held steady, but pain laced it. It's truth. About me and David. The garage air thickened, tools glinting like accusations. Jake's face cycled shock, denial, rage as we laid it bare. The bond, the feelings, the line crossed with care. I love him, Jake, Tom said, hand finding mine. Not in spite of you. Because of the man you raised me to be. Honest, even when it hurts. Jake's laugh was bitter, broken. Honest? You lied. Both of you, my best friend, my dad. How do I trust anyone now? He paced, fists balled, tears carving tracks through grease. This town's small enough for rumors. What happens when everyone knows? I'm the punchline, the cuckolded son or whatever. You're not, I whispered, stepping forward, voice cracking. You're Jake, my brother, the guy who'd fight the world for me. I screwed up hiding it, but I never stopped loving you. This is part of me. The gay part, the real part. I was scared you'd hate that too. He stopped, eyes locking on mine, the fight draining to exhaustion. Hate? David, I don't know what I feel. Confused. Betrayed. But gay? That's you. Always was. The way you checked out hot guys in movies, never chased girls. I just didn't see the rest. Silence stretched, heavy as the rain outside. Tom broke it, voice gentle. We don't expect forgiveness tonight. But we're here. As family, however that looks now. Jake sank onto a stool, head in hands, shoulders shaking. Minutes ticked. Agonizing until he looked up, raw and wrecked. I need time. Space. But don't disappear, okay? Not again. It wasn't absolution, but it was air. A breath in the chokehold. Tom pulled him into a hug, fierce and fatherly, and Jake clung, the boy surfacing through the man. I hung back, tears blurring them, until Jake extended a hand, tentative, trembling. We'll figure it, he muttered. Fucked up, but family. Spring unfurled slow, tentative as new leaves. The three of us navigated the wreckage. Awkward dinners where forks scraped louder than words. Jake's barb softening to questions. So when'd you know? And Tom's patience a steady flame. Rumors trickled, whispers at school about that Harper kid and Mr. R. But Jake shut them down, fierce as a guard dog. Mind your business. My coming out rippled wider. Mom's quiet tears turning to hugs. Coach's gruff doesn't change your splits. Track redeemed me. State qualifiers, medals cold and bright. And through it Tom was there in the stands or at the finish, his pride a beacon. Our love deepened in the open now, stolen weekends when Jake crashed at Sarah's. Walks where hands laced free, talks of futures intertwined. Me to college, him visiting, the novel pages multiplying. Graduation dawned golden. Caps sailing like blackbirds into Ohio sky. Jake and I stood side by side on the field, gowns billowing, his arms slung heavy around me. Proud of you, man, he said, voice thick. Even if you stole my dad. I laughed, shoving him. Borrowed. Big difference. Tom waited off stage, suit crisp, eyes shining as he pinned my tassel. My boys, he murmured, pulling us both close. A tableau of mended fractures. Summer stretched ahead, roads forking to new horizons. But as we drove out of Elmwood that July eve, windows down, wind whipping freedom, I glanced back at the blue house fading in the rearview. Paths diverged, yes, but ours wove together now. Messy, human, unbreakable. Love wasn't a straight line or a perfect equation. It was detours worth every storm. And in that we found our way home. The summer after graduation was a haze of heat waves and half-formed plans. The kind of season where days bleed into nights without apology. And Elmwood felt both too small and infinitely vast. I'd aced my finals, algebra a distant memory thanks to Tom's napkin blueprints, and snagged a partial ride to Ohio State for journalism. The campus brochures promising city lights just a bus ride from home. Jake was headed there too, undeclared but buzzing about poli-sci, Sarah in tow as his long-distance anchor. Roommates again? He joked at our last track meet, fist bumping me across the finish line. But no funny business with Dad sneaking in. I'd rolled my eyes, but the tease landed lighter now, laced with the easy forgiveness we'd earned through gritted teeth and group therapy sessions. Tom's idea dragged kicking from the wreckage. The counselor, a no-nonsense woman named Rita with cat-eye glasses and a voice like warm gravel, had us unpack it all. The betrayal's sting for Jake, my terror of loss, Tom's guilt over blurring lines. Healing's not linear, she'd say, scribbling notes. It's a circle, round and round until it sticks. It did, slowly, our circle widening to include barbecues where Jake grilled with exaggerated suspicion, eyeing Tom's every glance my way. But beneath the mending tension simmered a low boil from the world's sharper edges. Elmwood wasn't San Francisco. It was church steeples and flag-waving porches, where family values meant picket fences and unspoken rules. Whispers followed us at the county fair. Old ladies clucking over that Reynolds boy and his situation. Coach Harlan pulling Tom aside after a game with a gruff "Heard things. You good?" Tom brushed it off with that disarming grin, but I saw the strain, the way his shoulders tensed when we held hands in the grocery lot, or how he'd scan parking lots before a goodbye kiss. One sticky August evening it boiled over. We'd planned a simple thing. Drive-in movies under the stars, a double feature of Top Gun and The Breakfast Club, popcorn and promises. Tom picked me up in his truck, radio crooning Springsteen, his hand on my thigh as we merged onto the highway. "Nervous?" he asked, thumb tracing circles that sent sparks up my spine. "Nah. Just us." I leaned over, stealing a kiss at the stoplight, tasting salt in summer. The drive-in was a relic, faded screen backed by cornfields, families in station wagons honking horns like Morse code. We parked in the back row, windows cracked, the engines hum a private cocoon. As the previews rolled, Tom pulled me close, arm around my shoulders, our legs tangled in the bench seat. It felt normal, right? Until the intermission, when families spilled out for snacks, and a pickup rumbled beside us. The driver, some red-faced farmer type I'd seen at the feed store, beer gut straining his flannel, eyed us through his window, squint narrowing on Tom's arm, my head on his shoulder. He muttered something to his buddy, a low chuckle that slithered through the dusk. I tensed, but Tom just squeezed tighter, whispering, "Ignore him." But the buddy leaned out, voice slurring loud over the idling engines. "Hey Reynolds, that your boy toy? Thought you raised better than fairy tales." The lot hushed, heads turning like dominoes. My stomach knotted, heat flooding my face. Not shame exactly, but the raw exposure, the world's judgment landing like spit. Tom sat up straight, face hardening to steel. "Mind your own, Carl. Night's young. Don't ruin it for everyone." Carl laughed, ugly and wet. "Ruin? You're the one turning this town queer. Jake know his old man's playing house." Jake's name hit like shrapnel. I gripped Tom's arm, whispering, "Let's go." But he shook his head, eyes locked on the pickup. "Get gone," Tom said, voice low thunder. "Or I'll make sure the sheriff hears about your six-pack tonight." A beat, tense as wire. Then Carl gunned the engine, tires spitting gravel as they peeled out, taillights mocking us into the dark. The lot buzzed, whispers rising like smoke, but no one approached. We didn't stay for the second feature. Tom paid the teller with a nod, and we drove home in silence, his jaw clenched, my hand silent on his knee. At my porch he killed the engine, turning to me with eyes shadowed. "I'm sorry. That. It's not Elmwood. It's assholes like him. It's both." The word slipped out, honest and aching. I knew this coming out here, but seeing it hurts. He pulled me across the console, forehead to forehead, breath mingling. "We'll weather it. Together. You're worth every storm, David." We kissed then, fierce and claiming, the porch light haloing us like defiance. But as he drove off, taillights fading, doubt crept in. A whisper asking if love could outrun hate. Word spread, as it does in towns like ours. Sidelong glances at the diner, Tom's counseling caseload thinning with scheduling conflicts. Jake caught wind at the garage job, coming home fuming after a coworker's jab. "They don't know shit," he growled over pizza that night, the three of us crammed at the kitchen table. "But Dad, you gotta report that Carl prick. Harassment." Tom shook his head, sauce staining his napkin. "Not worth the hassle. It'll blow over." "Will it?" Jake's eyes flicked to me, protective fire. "David is family. No one messes with family." The word family landed warm, a bomb on the bruise. We finished eating in solidarity, Jake challenging us to Mario Kart, laughter cracking the tension like ice under sun. But later, alone in my room, I scrolled news feeds, headlines of pride marches in bigger cities, kids my age suing schools for flags banned. Elmwood felt like a cage, gilded but closing. College orientation loomed, a lifeline. OSU's campus sprawled urban and anonymous, Columbus a heartbeat away from our bubble. I dove in, Dorm tours, syllabi stacks, a queer alliance meeting where rainbow flags flew free and stories echoed mine. Betrayals mended, love's hard one. Tom visited weekends, his truck a portal between worlds. Our dates shifting to coffee shops where hands laced open. No glances stolen. But distance bred its own storms. Jake thrived. Frat parties, poli-sci debates. While I juggled classes and the paper, articles on local injustices sharpening my edge. Tom's calls grew shorter, fatigue lacing his voice. Budget cuts at school, a root canal, the novel stalled. Miss you, he'd say, but the words felt stretched, the 3-hour drive a chasm widening. Thanksgiving break hit like a reckoning. Elmwood glittered with early lights, but home felt foreign. Mom's diner shifts longer, the house echoing. Jake hosted, Sarah in the kitchen basting turkey, the 4 of us plus Tom, orbiting like planets realigned. Laughter flowed but undercurrents pulled. Jake's glances at Tom, checking for cracks. Sarah's polite questions about your studies laced with curiosity about us. That night after pie, Jake pulled me aside in the garage, the air thick with oil and old wounds. You good? Dad seems off. I leaned against the workbench, tools glinting like memories. Yeah, just adjusting. College is intense. He nodded, but his eyes held mine, searching. And you too? Still. Solid. The question hung vulnerable. Trying. It's work, you know? Like us. He clapped my shoulder, grin crooked. Worth it. Both of you. A beat then softer. Thanks for not bailing. After everything. Never. The hug was quick, fierce, brothers reforged. But the real fracture came later. Snow dusting the drive as Tom walked me out. Proud of you. He murmured, kiss lingering in the cold. My journalist. Inside though, as I grabbed my jacket, I glimpsed it. A photo on the fridge, Tom and Sarah young and laughing, Jake a toddler between. A relic, but it stirred the ghost. What if? The drive home, radio humming low, I texted. Love you. Always. His reply, love you more. Night. Winter quarter ramped the pressure. Deadlines, debates, a rally for trans rights where I spoke, voice shaking but steady. Tom came up once, suit rumpled from the drive, and we wandered High Street, hands linked amid students who didn't blink. This is it, he said, gesturing to the bustle. Your world. Ours, I corrected, but his smile faltered, eyes distant. Back home, cracks spiderwebbed. A call from Rita, the counselor, about maintenance sessions. Tom's avoidance turning to snaps over small things. Forgotten laundry, Jake's late nights. He's pulling away. I confessed to Jake over beers at the campus pub, spring break neon and noisy. Jake swirled his pint, thoughtful. Dad's stubborn. After Mom he armored up. Give him time. Push too hard he bolts. Bolts. The word chilled. Not like that. But yeah. Love him but he's human. Flawed. The advice stuck, a thorn. I eased back. Fewer texts, more space, but the silence echoed louder. April bloomed cruel, exams a gauntlet. And one rainy Tuesday, Tom's call came mid-lecture. We need to talk. In person. My blood iced. We met at our river spot, now green and rushing, picnic blanket soggy under us. He looked wrecked. Eyes shadowed, hands fidgeting like confessions. David, he started, voice fracturing. It's too much. The world grade. What? The town. The looks. Jake's still healing and I'm dragging him through mud. And you're soaring. College dreams. I can't hold you back. You're not. Panic clawed, tears hot. This is us against it, remember? He shook his head, tears mirroring mine. I love you. God so much. But love sometimes means letting go. For your sake. For sanity. The betrayal landed. Not of body but soul. You're scared. I accused, voice breaking. The assholes win if we quit. Maybe. He stood, rain sheeting his face. I'm sorry. Write your story, David. One without me dragging it down. He walked away, truck fading into mist, leaving me shattered on the bank, sobs swallowed by the river's roar. Betrayal round 2. Not Jake's fury but Tom's surrender. The humanistic lie. Sometimes love's deepest cut is mercy. Days blurred to numbness. I ghosted classes, Jake's texts piling. What happened? Dad's a zombie. Mom called worried. Coach emailed about time slipping. The queer group rallied hugs hotlines but the void gaped. Rock bottom hit mid-May. A bottle of cheap whiskey in my dorm, Jake bursting in like a force. Talk asshole. Now. He dragged the story out, the breakup, the ache, and listened, no judgment, just presence. He's an idiot, he said finally, arm around me. But I get it. Dad's always protected me too hard. Thinks he's saving us by breaking. Feels like dying. Yeah. A pause then. Fight for it. Or let go. But don't half-ass. His words ignited something, not rage but resolve. The next weekend I drove home uninvited, finding Tom in the garage, wrench in hand, bike half rebuilt like his heart. Go away, David. But his voice wavered. No. I stepped close, tools clattering. You don't get to decide alone. Love's not yours to quit. He set the wrench down, eyes raw. I'm poison. The town, the past, it'll taint you. Then we fight it. Together. Human messy, that's us. He crumbled then, hug crushing, sobs shared. I was scared. Of losing you to it all. You won't. Kiss ceiling, river forged. Summer healed slow, therapy doubles, town talks turning tolerant. Jake mediating with gruff humor. Tom's novel flowed, pages dedicated to me. My articles sharpened, voices for the marginalized. We built boundaries. Date nights in Columbus, hands held high. Fall quarter dawned, campus alive. Jake and I roomed, Sarah visiting, the circle complete. One crisp night under stadium lights, Tom in the crowd I ran. Not from but toward, medals and milestones, love the wind at my back. Paths converged, detours mapped. In Elmwood's heart we found grace. Flawed, fierce, forever. Sophomore year at OSU hit like a Category 5. Syllabi thicker than novels. A staff writer gig at the Lantern sharpening my edges. And the queer alliance evolving into protests that clogged High Street with chants and cardboard signs. Columbus pulsed with possibility. Dive bars thumping indie rock. Coffee shops where baristas knew your order and your pronouns. Nights where hands laced without a second glance. It was the freedom I'd craved, the air after drowning, but Tom's absence in it all left a hollow echo. A shadow in the frame. We'd rebuilt, yes, weekends when he'd drive up, suits swapped for jeans, and we'd wander the short north galleries, his arm around me like an anchor. This place suits you, he'd say, eyes tracing my face as we sipped overpriced lattes. The city a canvas of reinvention. But the drives back were killer, taillights blurring to tears, his truck shrinking in the dorm lot like a bad dream. Text when you settle, he'd murmur, kiss lingering, but the miles stretched, pulling at the seams. Jake thrived in the chaos, pledging a frat with a queer-inclusive bent. Dating Sarah steady now, their future a blueprint of law school and picket fences. He roomed across hall, our doors always cracked for late-night rants. His about poli-sci profs with God complexes, mine about Tom's latest stall on the novel. Push him, Jake advised one bleary 2 a.m., pizza boxes littering the floor. Dad's a mule, needs a kick. But pushing felt like prodding a bruise. Tom's calls grew sporadic, excuses layering. School dramas, a student crisis, budget hell. The house needing fixes, roof leak, Jake's car. Miss you bone deep, he'd text, but the words felt rote, the flame flickering low. Elmwood's grip tightened too. A school board meeting where curriculum concerns coded for his lifestyle. Whispers turning to emails from parents. It's noise, he'd downplay, but I heard the wear in his voice, the armor cracking. November brought the first real fracture post-reunion. Election night, campus electric with tension. Dorms pulsing red-blue-white as results rolled in. The Alliance hosted a watch party. Fists raised for wins, hugs for losses, and I dove in, fueled by fire. Tom called mid-tally, voice tight. Heard about the rally. Careful out there. Things are heating up. It's peaceful, I assured, but the line crackled with unspoken. His world shrinking, mine expanding. Still. Love you. Stay safe. The call ended abrupt and doubt slithered in. Later buzzed on cheap wine, a hookup from the group. Cute, tattooed, all easy smiles. Leaned in at the after-party. You're intense, he murmured, lips brushing my ear. I pulled back, Tom's face flashing, but the seed planted. What if? Guilt gnawed next morning, hangover sharp as regret. I confessed over breakfast with Jake. Bagels crumbling under my fidget. Not physical, just tempted. Feels like I'm outgrowing him. Jake chewed thoughtful, cream cheese smearing his thumb. Long distance is a bitch. But dad's steady, don't ditch for shiny. Talk it. So I did, driving home that weekend. Autumn leaves carpeting the highway like warnings. The house smelled of chili, his comfort ritual, and he pulled me into a hug that smelled of home, but his eyes held shadows. Missed you, he breathed, but over dinner words tumbled. The temptation, the distance's toll, my fear of resentment building. He listened, fork still, then nodded slow. Fair. Your young world's yours. If I'm holding you. No. Panic surged. It's us or nothing. But the seed festered. December holidays amplified it. Family dinners where Sarah's ring sparkled, engagement whispers, Mom's pride beaming as I read my latest piece aloud, on rural queer youth, raw and ribbon from our story. Tom beamed too, but later in bed, his touch felt distant, like he was memorizing me for a trip he wouldn't take. New Year dawned with a bang, literally. Jake's fireworks show in the backyard, sparklers tracing wishes. We clinked mugs under stars, Tom's arm heavy around me. To us, he toasted, but his eyes flicked to Jake and Sarah, dancing clumsy in the snow, a mirror of what we'd lost, what he craved. Spring quarter, the pressure cooker whistled. My column went viral, campus buzz, a podcast invite, and offers trickled, internships in DC, New York. Tom's pride swelled calls. Go conquer. But laced with strain. Elmwood escalated too. A petition circling to review his counseling role, Carl's crew egging his truck one dawn. No damage but the note. Go back to the city, queer. He downplayed it. Pranks. But I saw the toll. Sleep lines deepening, novel pages yellowing untouched. Jake fumed, ready to confront, but Tom waved him off. Not giving them power. May bloomed betrayal's prelude. A weekend visit turned tense. Me buried in laptop, him puttering garage, silences stretching like taffy. Saturday night, post-dinner wine, it erupted, me snapping about his withdrawal, him firing back on my city glow. The words, you're leaving me behind, unspoken but screaming. I feel it too. I yelled, glass slamming table. But hiding won't fix it. Hiding. His laugh bitter. I'm fighting daily for my job, my kid, us. You waltz in with your protests and pretty interns. Jealous. Shock lanced. Of your life? Yes. Admission raw, eyes glistening. I want that for you. Without me as anchor. The fight deflated us, apologies whispered in dark, bodies seeking solace. But morning brought clarity's knife. A letter on the counter, school board suspension pending review. My heart sank. Tom. It's fine. Lie thin as paper. Time to write, maybe. But it wasn't. The board meeting loomed, town hall, a coliseum. Jake rallied, petitions, ally letters, but the air reeked of witch hunt. I drove down, alliance friends carpooling, signs sharp. Love wins even here. The hall packed, farmers in caps, church ladies clutching pearls, Carl smirking front row. Tom stood tall at the podium, voice steady. I've counseled these kids through divorces, deaths, dreams. My life outside? Private. But if it threatens that, I'll go for them. Murmurs rose, but then Jake surged up. He's my dad. Best man I know. Back off. I followed, heart pounding, words pouring. This town's heart is big. Don't shrink it with fear. Applause scattered, then swelled, a tide turning. The board recessed, verdict pending, but the night shifted something. Townies nodding as we left, a quiet thanks from coach. Home, Tom collapsed into me, sobs muffled. Didn't want this spectacle. But you fought. Kishfirs. We did. Summer internship beckoned, Chicago 3 months, but I deferred, staying for the fray. We rebuilt again. Therapy with Rita, Tom's novel surging, title detours, Jake's wedding plans weaving us tighter. The board cleared him, narrow vote but victory, and Elmwood exhaled, grudging but growing. Yet doubt lingered, a quiet thief. Late July, river picnic redux, I broached it. What if I take the internship? Us long term. His smile soft, hand in mine. Go. I'll follow, visit, right, wait. Love's not stationary. Relief flooded, kiss ceiling. But as fireflies danced, I wondered. Could words hold against worlds apart? Fall found me in Chicago winds, skyline scraping clouds, bylines stacking. Calls with Tom anchored. His voice over static, novel queries landing agents. Jake married Sarah in a backyard bash, me best man, toasts to paths crossed, circles closed. But distance devours. Texts lag, calls cut short. A night out, colleagues flirt, my pull away too late, guilt gnawing. Tom's novel deal hit, champagne virtual, but his proud felt echoey. Winter break, homecoming. Elmwood snow globe, Tom's arms haven. But over eggnog, truth cracked. I kissed someone. Drunk stupid, but it happened. Silence deafened. His face shocked then sorrow. David. I'm sorry. Distance. It warps. He nodded slow. Does too. Mine with apparent conference whine. Nothing but the thought. Laughter choked, tears following. We're human. Flawed. Hug crushing. Fixable. Always. Spring healed with honesty. Visits planned, boundaries drawn. No more gray. My internship extended, but Tom's sabbatical aligned. Chicago weeks, skyline hours. Graduation dawned, cap and gown amid confetti. Tom in front row, Jake beside, cheers thundering. Diploma in hand, I pulled him on stage, impromptu, mic hot. To detours. To love that endures. The crowd roared our kiss applause. Paths once fractured, now one road, winding, wondrous, holy hours. The years post-grad blurred into a montage of bylines and book tours. Chicago's hustle morphing from internship grind to full-time blaze at the Tribune. Investigative pieces on Midwestern queer rights. Words that chipped at walls thicker than Elmwood's frost. Tom sold the novel on a chilly spring auction. Detours hitting shelves with a dedication. For A. Who showed me the scenic route. Reviews glowed. A heartfelt ode to second chances. And readings packed indie stores, his baritone steady as he read passages laced with us. Tentative kisses in garages. Rivers rushing redemption. We made it work, stitching miles with intention. His sabbaticals in my shoebox apartment overlooking the L. Weekends where Lake Michigan winds whipped us on pier walks. Hands laced against the spray. Jake and Sarah settled in Columbus, baby on the way. A niece or nephew to spoil, and family holidays became rituals. Thanksgiving charades where Tom cheated shamelessly. Christmas mornings with mom's sticky buns and his quiet love you slipped in stockings. But life, that sly architect, built hurdles subtle as fog. My career rocketed. Pulitzer whispers for a series on rural isolation. While Tom's second book stalled, rejections piling like snowdrifts. It's fine, he'd say over FaceTime. Elmwood's blue house framing his fatigue. Teaching keeps me grounded. But I saw the erosion. Laugh lines deepening to worry trenches. Nights he'd pace during calls. Voice edged with what if I'm not enough? Elmwood evolved grudgingly. Pride flags on select porches. Carl's crew thinned by time and townies turning backs. But scars lingered. A school event where parents still side-eyed. Or coach's retirement speech lauding Tom with a backhanded despite the noise. It wore him, that quiet siege, and distance amplified it. My late nights chasing leads, his solitary suppers. The first real quake hit summer 29, my 25th birthday. A rooftop bash with Alliance alums. Skyline glittering like promise. Tom flew in, suit crisp, grin wide as he toasted with craft IPAs. To you, storyteller, storm chaser. We danced under strings of lights, bodies close, the city a heartbeat sync. But dawn brought the call. Jake, voice cracking over static. Dad's in the Earhart thing. Not major, but get home. The flight was terror, turbulence mirroring my gut. Chicago fading as Elmwood rushed up. Hospital sterile, beeps a dirge, Tom pale in the bed for dripping steady. Scare, the doc said. Stress-induced arrhythmia. Rest prescribed. Jake hovered, Sarah hand in his, eyes red. He pushed too hard, book, bored crap. I took his hand, cool and calloused, whispering. Idiot. Can't lose you. His squeeze weak but sure. Won't. Promise. Recovery was a crawl. Weeks in bed, me shuttling between cities, articles ghosted to freelancers. We talked deep then, nights on the porch swing, stars pricking black, his fears spilling. Always thought I'd be the rock. But rocks erode, David. What if I crumble? Then we rebuild. Kishsoft. Healing. Like always. Fall steadied us, his book too revived, my series wrapping awards. But the scare lingered, a reminder time's thief loves test. Jake's son arrived November, little Finn red-faced and roaring. Baptism a family forge, Tom's vows as godfather thick with legacy. By winter we plotted permanence. My Tribune tenure secure, his teaching winding down. Move. I broshed over solstice koko, fire crackling. Chicago. Us full-time. Eyes lit then shadowed. Elmwood's home. Jake the house. Sell. Visit. Build new. He nodded slow, the decision a bridge crossed. Spring sail swift, blue siding to young couple, promises of swings and suppers. Moving truck groaned east, boxes labeled ours, Tom's novel proofs peeking. Chicago welcomed. Wrigleyville walk-up. Lake views from fire escape. First night, unpacking amid pizza grease, he pulled me close. Scared shitless. But here. With me.
Laughter mingled. Bodies mapping familiar.
Years layered. My book deal, Trails Untrod, Memoir Echoes, his trilogy-capped bestseller. Finn toddled visits, Jake's law firm booming. Sarah's bakery scents wafting. Mom retired lakeside, dinners her domain. Stories swapped, toasts to survivals. But climax brewed quiet. My 30s dawned with a diagnosis. His prostate, early but insistent. Treatable, docs assured, but chemo's shadow loomed. Elmwood drives for treatments, a reversal, me the commuter now. He fought fierce, wigs joked off, novel for dictated bedside. Write our ending happy, he'd quip, hand in mine. It is. Tears belied but truth held. Remission came summer 35, party on the pier, friends toasting, Finn splashing shallows. Weak but walking, Tom raised glass. To detours. To you. Fall brought the call, Pulitzer, my name etched gold. Gala black tie, his arms steady. Stage lights hot, words poured. For the man who taught me paths aren't straight. For love that bends but never breaks. Applause thundered, his kiss salt sweet. Winter 36, snow blanketing the lake, we married, small city hall, Jake best man. Finn ring bearer in tiny tucks. Vows simple. Through storms I choose you. Honeymooned low-key. Amtrak to New York, readings synced. Hands laced in Penn Station rush. Decades wove. Books stacked, grandkids, Finn's twins. Tumbling grass, Elmwood visits where blue house ghosts smiled. Tom's hair silver full, mine receding laugh lines. Old age crept gentle. Aches shared, stories retold. One autumn eve, porch swing, New Chicago Creek. Lake whispering, he leaned head on shoulder. Best detour. Best life. Kiss featherlight. Sunset gilding us gold. He slipped quiet that winter, sleep deep, hand in mine. Dawn light filtered, Jake arriving. Family circle closing soft. Grief hollowed but grace filled. His books eternal, mine tributes. Jake's eulogy. Dad taught love's work. Messy mighty. Years later I write this memoir sequel, words for the boy I was, the man he made. Elmwood's paths forked but ours converged. Humanistic arc, not tragedy's fall but rise. Love's quiet victory enduring. In every detour home.